Hey, sports fan. So lately, there has been a little bit of a kerfuffle in the book prominent online spaces, and I felt like I just wanted to weigh in. This will probably be old news by the time I actually get around to uploading this video, but I still just wanted to talk about it because I think it's sort of something that affects all of us who enjoy reading. I have a lot of notes, so please bear with me. I'm not always good at compiling my thoughts in a really cohesive manner. I have a point and I'll get to it, I promise. Kind of recently, a TikToker named Maddie Clark has created some division among readers with some TikToks that she made where she called out the BookTok bitches and was criticizing the Kindle Unlimited books that have kind of become BookTok darlings. The difference in opinions has really created a chasm between readers in these social media spaces. On one side, you have people who are saying their lives are really busy, they are overwhelmed, and they just want to turn their brain off and read something that is not complex or challenging, it's not intellectual, they just want to be entertained. And they don't want to feel criticized or mocked for what they enjoy. Then on the other side of the aisle, we have readers who feel like this glorification of these BookTok darlings is a net negative, that it's harmful to readers and publishing because it glamorizes books of just a general low quality, and then those are the books that dominate the market, and it's harder to find, read, and publish books that are of a higher quality. I just want to be transparent. When I talk about BookTok darlings, I think what we're really talking about is the romantasy genre. I definitely could be wrong, but I find that when I'm scrolling, I tend to see a lot of the same romantasy that's really heavily promoted and posted. I feel like I can't really go 15 minutes without seeing something like Alchemized or Throne of Glass being touted as like top tier literature. First and foremost, we should unpack the criticism. A lot of people didn't like the way that Maddie went about her criticism, which I completely understand. I don't want to be called a stupid bitch either. That would probably really bother me. But I think in being offended by her verbiage, people are missing the point. Her criticism wasn't of really the people or even the content of the books that are being recommended and promoted. It was more about the quality of those books. For me personally, I'm not complaining about romantasy as a genre. I think it's fine. I don't really care about it as a genre of book. What I'm complaining about is the quality of the romantasy books that are available. I've talked about this before, and I think that whether you like it or not, the disproportionate popularity of these novels is affecting the publishing industry. Publishers are really interested in making money, so they're going to publish what they think is going to sell, and if they can get their hands on a book that's going viral on BookTok, then it's almost guaranteed that they're going to sell hundreds of thousands of copies of these books and turn a huge profit, whether the book is good or not. When publishers treat novels like fast fashion, that's how we get books that have plot holes, they have unengaging prose, they have grammatical errors and typos, and honestly, dialogue that kind of sounds like it was written by a child who's learning a second language. This is how we end up with novels that repeat phrases like his gray eyes 60 plus times in a 300-page novel, and it still has 600,000 positive reviews on book review websites like Goodreads. The criticism, or at least my criticism, is not that it's wrong to enjoy these novels. The criticism is that the writing is bad, and that promoting bad writing as top tier is actually harmful. I think that it is in fact harmful to hold up an 800-page tome like When the Moon Hatched and herald it as some sort of literary masterpiece, when it is in fact just not very good. And while I think that Maddie could have gone about her criticism in a healthier way that would be more open to discussion rather than calling BookTok stupid bitches, I don't think that she's wrong. I think another important point to make is that it's not inherently wrong or bad to enjoy these books. And this is where the analogy of books to food comes in, which I know that some people really don't like, but I think it's actually a really good analogy. And if you'll just bear with me, I'll kind of explain why. The food we put into our bodies is to nourish it, right? We try to eat things that are good for us. We take vitamins for our general health. we take calcium for our bones, we eat fish for the omega-3s, we take fiber for our gut. The food that we put into our bodies is, for the most part, to nourish it. So the food that we put into our minds should also be nourishing our minds and our brains. For the most part, most people try to eat well to some extent. But every so often, you go to McDonald's or Taco Bell or Chick-fil-A because it tastes good, because you enjoy a burrito with little nutritional value. It just tastes good. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but we don't eat it all the time. We don't eat McDonald's for every meal every day, because if you did that over years as it compounds, it's not good for you anymore. I think that we feed our minds the same way. If we exclusively consume brain off entertainment every single day as the only entertainment that we put into our minds, it's going to harm you. It's not going to be good for you. Your brain is going to become lazy and bloated and not quite as quick as it used to be. That is where I think the food analogy really does work. I would say it's even kind of reversed. I think that it's fine to consume brain off entertainment most of the time and intersperse the occasional challenging book or film or television show or whatever to just exercise your brain a little bit, because you have to exercise it. It's almost like a muscle. You can't just lay in bed and rot all day and then expect to be able to get up and run around. You have to train to do those things. So we have to also train our minds to think critically. I cannot stress enough that I am not here to tell you what to enjoy. That is not my prerogative. And honestly, you shouldn't care about my opinion about what you're reading in the first place. I don't want anyone to feel bad because they're reading what I consider to be junk food novels. I like junk food too, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love the film Unforgiven. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably in my top 5 movies. It's award-winning. It has a star-studded cast. It's thought-provoking. The dialogue is simple but also moving and impactful. It is easily one of the best movies I've ever seen, and I love it. But I also love The Expendables. It's probably in my top 10. I love that movie. It's such a fun time. I've seen it a million times. It's a blast. No one will ever convince me to not enjoy Expendables, but also I know and I can acknowledge that it's not technically a good movie. It's not impressive. It's not thought-provoking. The acting is subpar. It's just fun. There's nothing wrong with just having fun. But for every 10 Expendables that you enjoy, maybe work in like one Unforgiven, because like I said, we do have to keep our minds sharp. It's really important, especially in the world that we live in, where so much is happening and so many people have so many opinions, that we need to be able to think critically. I saw a TikTok responding to Maddie Clark's original TikTok, and I won't name names because that's not what I'm about, but this woman was saying that she doesn't want to be criticized for reading junk food novels or shitty Kindle Unlimited novels. She said that she's a working mom and she's tired and overwhelmed, and by the time that she sits down to read, she is at maximum mental capacity and she just wants to turn her brain off. And she said that she doesn't want to be challenged and she doesn't want to read anything complex like The Will of the Many. I have to be honest, my eyes kind of popped out of my head when I saw her say that, because yes, The Will of the Many is a long book and it is, in my opinion, a very good book, but I don't think it's particularly challenging and it's not exceptionally complex. It's not like The Silmarillion and it's not like Les Miserables. It's just a fantasy, a science fantasy novel that is a little bit long. It's not even difficult to follow. I was a little bit shocked to hear someone say that. I think that this is kind of a result of the problem of book talk and the book talk phenomena. This woman, who is at bare minimum average and intelligent, she seemed perfectly intelligent to me. She looked at a novel that is labeled as fantasy or science fiction, and she said, that's too hard for me. That's too complicated. I can't turn my brain on to read that, so I'm just not even going to bother. She said, let me enjoy my mindless books. The thing that got me about someone saying that is not that they just enjoy what they enjoy. The implication of the language used was kind of like willful ignorance. She can't or won't understand anything even slightly complex, that she can't put any more mental effort than it takes to read the words. I think that that's a little bit sad because you're only hurting yourself when you do that. It's like this refusal to be actively engaged, or this unwillingness to put in effort. It's kind of concerning when readers are willfully limiting themselves in these ways. You are actively limiting your own potential by your refusal to read something that you view as complex, your refusal to challenge yourself intellectually. Alternatively, I have a friend who loves books like A Court of Thorns and Roses or Lore Olympus. She loves Lore Olympus. I recommended something to her that was outside her wheelhouse and maybe a little bit more complex. She was open to it and she took it home and she read it. And I think she enjoyed it, probably not quite as much as I enjoyed it, which is fine. You don't have to like what I like. But she was willing to take the chance on something that was a little bit more sophisticated. She was willing to step outside her comfort zone and approach something that was a little bit different from what she's used to, with a little bit higher, quality of prose and writing and a little bit more complexity in the storytelling. She was able and willing to read something that she did have to turn her brain on for. I think it's important to be open to things that might challenge you a little bit more. I grew up reading things like Sweet Valley High and California Diaries. And then when I was around like 14, I graduated to mystery thrillers and I read tons of Lois Duncan, Kay Hooper, Iris Johansen. I must have checked out every single Kay Hooper book in my school's library. I was just reading so much of the same lower quality books that I started to see a lot of the problems. Like, the prose wasn't particularly interesting to read. The dialogue was very lackluster and often felt stilted and unnatural. There were plot holes and grammatical errors. Yes, I still enjoyed those stories, but because I was reading them actively and I was engaging my mind in what I was reading, I was able to look at it critically. When I was reading all of these mystery thrillers, I was in school. So I was also reading all of the books that they make you read in high school. So I was reading a lot of like Dickens and Bradbury and To Kill a Mockingbird and Of Mice and Men, reading all of these little mystery thrillers and reading them against things like Of Mice and Men, it really highlights the difference in quality. I found that I wanted to read things that had higher quality, that had more complex stories, that were more challenging. And if I was only reading with my mind turned off, I would never realize that the quality just wasn't there. I think that there's something for us to gain from holding ourselves and holding authors to a higher standard and consuming media that is a little bit more complex and forces us to think. I think that complex thought is not just important for your individual quality of life and the quality of your mind, but also the quality of what we're putting out into the world. Everyone can't live with their brain turned off, because what are you leaving when you've never put critical thought out into the world? What are we leaving for future generations when they look back and they see that books like Guild and Quicksilver were being celebrated as great literature? At the end of the day, I think that Book Talk is a net positive. Book Talk has inspired millions of people to start reading. It's popularized reading as a hobby. Book Talk has put tons of money into writing and publishing. That is a positive. People reading is a positive, whether you're turning your brain off or on. people reading is good. I do hope that people who are introduced to reading through Book Talk will start reading critically, start reading with your brain turned on, seek out complexity, challenge yourself, and start holding authors and publishers and ourselves as readers to a higher standard. Demand quality, demand complexity. I was at the bookstore once with that same friend who really likes Lore Olympus, and she was talking about the next Fourth Wing book, and she was getting really excited. And I was getting excited for her. And she said, "Why are you excited? You don't even like those kinds of books." I said, "I'm excited because you're excited, and I'm excited that people are reading." That is how I feel. I am excited that people are reading. That's the truth. I want you to read and I want you to enjoy what you read as much as you enjoy your French fries, but maybe occasionally you could enjoy a salad too. You see what I did there?